So we had a great view, another tour, if I'd say, in this learning expedition, this learning journey that we have together, and that shows us all what is possible with CEA. And we will go back, as we did during the first roundtable, to some of the examples which were presented in these videos, especially with the panelists which are around me. They are from people from CEA, which will account for more details about what was already presented, and industry, which is also represented, and to bridge between both, as we've already started doing since the beginning of the day. Christophe Junot, head of the Medicines and Healthcare Technologies Department, Deputy Coordinator of MetaHub, and you will tell us more about MetaHub. Jean-François Mangin, you're head of the Baobab Methodological Unit in Neurospin, where we are today, and head of the CATI National Platform for Multicenter Neuroimaging at CEA. Then Luca Molo, you're a country medical director and chief medical officer of Pfizer France. Jean-François Stéphan. Sorry? Jean-Philippe. Oh, sorry. Jean-Philippe Stéphan, research director in vitro pharmacology at Servier. And Ramzi Temani, am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Scientific director, head of France AI and Genomics at Jensen. Thank you to all of you to be here. Christophe Junot, we listened to you just a few seconds during the report, and you have this incredible platform, which is one of the last omics, as we said, the omics, about metabolomics. What is it exactly?
It's an omic approach that deals with the detection of a large number of metabolites that are small molecules that are present in biological fluids. And so we have developed tools to detect all these metabolites that are putative biomarker candidates. And we are also working with mathematicians and informaticians to develop data science tools to help us going to molecular signatures.
It's a bit immature, it's a bit new, and do people know about what you're doing? Do you still have some projects and programs with industry, for example?
Yes, with industry, especially in the field of, I would say, large national programs, but also European, such as RHU programs that are funded by the Plan d'Investissement d'Avenir. So the aim is to contribute to, I would say, a new way to diagnose diseases, for example, to lead to new kinds of biopsies that are virtual biopsies that are combining, for example, molecular tools with also imaging and also clinical tools.
So you were one of the first to develop this approach in France, that's it? That's
yes,
right? So why did you do it in CEA especially? What's the, I'd say, environment and ecosystem? How did it help you?
Yeah, I think the key word is environment, because at CEA, this is a unique place that groups many fields of expertise. So analytical chemistry, biochemistry, but also data science. And for example, the colleague that introduced me to multivariate statistical analysis was working in the field of nuclear energy. So you see, this is a unique place that groups many fields of expertise, and so you can capitalize on it and think about new kind of applications.
So I think it was interesting to focus on your very specific field, which is emerging and which is really exciting. And I remind you that you can ask your questions whenever you want by clicking on the top right button of your screen, and that I will, of course, ask the questions for you. Here, we carry on. We are in Neurospin. And Neurospin is probably, I think it is the best brain imaging system or capacity in the world. People say that, and we quoted two first premiere just in the introduction with the incredible machines you get here. So can you tell us more about these incredible capacities, and is it well known throughout the world?
Well, you should be aware that this outstanding capacity is still under development. This 11.7 Tesla magnet will be producing images of human maybe only in 2 years from now. So
2 years, yeah.
Okay. And the reason why this is here is just because we have outstanding physicists in the CA who develop magnets for other applications, for instance in the CERN in Geneva, and there was an opportunity to just push the field further in terms of imaging technologies. But it's not only these machines that are here. We have also a lot of other capacities, and it's very important because here it's a melting pot of neuroscience. We have top-level neuroscientists, top-level people doing clinical research, and a lot of computer scientists too developing the tools to analyze the data that are coming out of these machines. So it's not only this outstanding instrument. We are a research center for 12 years, even if this outstanding machine is not ready yet.
So what does it change, by the way? Because it changed something. Attraction, capacities, new research projects?
Well, the idea is just, for instance, zooming inside the brain to see more things than what you see with standard machines.
Can you give examples? What will be possible that we can do right now?
Typically, for instance, there's a target in the field of dementia, which is the hippocampus. And hippocampus is a very complex structures that you just see like maybe potatoes in standard MRI. And with high-field MRI, you see the subfield of the hippocampus, and maybe you will discover some specific targets that could be of interest for trying various therapies or to monitor various therapies, things like that. So
are you going to focus on neurodegenerative pathologies and maybe psychiatric ones?
Yeah, this is the two main targets, but we also have a very specific capacity here to do imaging of infants and even babies, and so there could be other applications around that line. So I don't know if we are all aware of that, but these magnets are just incredibly powerful, and some people think about the power, 11.7, then 17.2 Tesla. Is it dangerous when you want to put baby into the tube? Isn't it a little dangerous? The baby just go to the 3 Tesla magnet first. And before putting somebody inside any magnets, we do a lot of studies. So you can imagine that there are animal experiments just to clarify the situations. And I mean, you know, this is a 12, maybe 20 years old project, all these stories. So of course, we just check everything we can check. Can you remind us of the investment to build that up? I would say grossly the 1107 Tesla magnet is a 100 million investment. 100 million investment. Okay. Thank you. We'll go back to you. Luca Molon, as I said, you're country medical director, chief medical officer of Pfizer France. And you listened to these two examples, but you must have heard of them before, of course, I imagine, especially Neurospin. And you are very close to the startup and external ecosystem. And there is a great example that everyone heard. It was, of course, your partnership with BioNTech because of the vaccine and COVID, and everyone heard about that. So it's a great success, is what we can say otherwise. So what do you think about Pfizer today and about maybe CEA?
Yes, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. So everybody would like me to talk about the vaccines. It's too easy because now everybody knows us as the vaccine company of the COVID. But see, this is a good example. Pfizer, since now decades now, we have changed our model. First, we were betting in our own research, of course. The COVID is the good example because the treatment is coming from our own research, and of course the vaccine is the collaboration, the fruit of the collaboration with BioNTech. And for us, working with the technological platforms is key because this model is more agile than the one we can have, and it's possible to us to benefit of the close collaboration, putting together the expertise we can have in our company, but also coming from the external environment. And that's the reason why it's important to have also in affiliates people that is able to deal with these big experts, big research centers, having the capabilities to identify, to scout what can be the opportunities for us, and also, of course, taking account of the strategy of our company. And of course, this is the right strategy because it can be win-win for us as a big pharma company, and also for the research centers like CEA, but also others in the French environment. And we're talking about attractivity. The attractivity of France is huge because we have here first the intelligence, the renowned research centers, but also, it was said before, there are some dispositives that are now making France attractive. This is the reason why we heard about also this big investment we are making in France in the next 5 years, because we want to invest in the French research environment.
I'm asking you the same questions as I did at the first roundtable. Are you focused on the general election in France to see if you can go further in this strategy?
The French elections is just a step, but for us what is important is whoever will be the new president. So for us what is important is to keep and preserve this favorable environment we have, and continue to support the research, but also support the pharma companies that are investing in France. So this is very important for us.
We'll go back to you, of course. Jean-Philippe Stéphan, you're a research director in vitro pharmacologist unit Servier. And Servier, I think you work with Servier, you know very well, you're French, of course, company. Everyone knows in the French ecosystem, pharma ecosystem, Servier, so you know very well CA. And what is your connection? How do you work? Do you speak the same language with, I'd say, CA researchers from a public environment? Is it easy?
Yeah, I would think it's easy, because historically Servier has maintained a lot of collaboration with the CEA. Are we speaking the same language? I'm not sure, and I'm not sure it's a requirement. Mm-hmm. I think the diversity is probably the biggest value. I think the two first speakers highlighted the fact that these technologies are extremely complex, and we need many experts around the table, and those experts are not speaking the same language. But the value is to make them able to exchange and develop the technology. And I think that's what we are looking for. We are looking to access to expertise that we might not have internally, because all these investments are very important. And we are not always able to have similar investment internally in our companies. They are also cutting-edge technology, which means that they will evolve very rapidly. So obviously, investment are more risky. And sometimes the applications are not clearly defined, and we need to investigate that together. There is the technology and what the technology could offer, and there is the need. What do we need for our research, for our patients? So that's how we need to interact together.
Yes, you must be very close to clinics, and you must have, of course, a great time.
Absolutely.
Quick innovation, that's it, it's important for you. Could you detail a little bit the projects, and you can talk about them together, that you have with, for example, metabolomics platforms or Neurospin?
So with metabolomics, I think it's more like involving my colleagues in Orléans who are involved with DMPK. And definitively we are looking at metabolites of our drugs, try to identify if there is any active or toxic metabolites that could be generated through the metabolism of patients. So these are absolutely critical in our ability to develop the drug and make it one day a viable drugs for patients. So this is one type of collaboration.
This is in a preclinical approach or beginning of clinical phase 1? No?
Both, but or rather preclinical. But for example, we are both involved in a RSU program dedicated to liver biopsies for diabetic patients having NASH, and so that address both the clinical and preclinical sides.
Okay.
Yeah. So there is other interests that are maybe earlier in the research. We've been interacting around microfluidic systems, trying to reproduce microorganisms, in vitro, in order to decrease the use on animal models, and try to have a better predictability on what we will see in the patient. So this is some other interest, and again, this is cutting-edge technologies, and I think the variety of expertise that we can access through the CEA is definitively responding to our need in that sense.
Okay. We'll go back to you, of course, during the roundtable, but to finish the first speech, Ramzi Temani, you're Scientific Director, Head of France AI and Genomics of Janssen. I don't think you already work with CEA, if I'm not mistaken.
Not
yes?
yet.
Not yet.
Yeah.
So the point is, when you listen to these examples which are developed here, do you think something different from all the partners you have in the world that could justify finally an investment or a project with them, for example?
Yeah, so thank you for the question. I'll just give the context of the AI in genomics. So it's a new initiative started by Janssen and with an ambition to invest $40 million over a period of 10 years. And the choice for AI genomics was the fact that, for instance, Paris-Saclay and Paris-Sorbonne are #1 and #3 in mathematics worldwide. So that was easy to make the bet on AI. And there's several hospitals like Institut Gustave Roussy and Curie who are in the top 50 worldwide in oncology, for instance, and that's one of the key areas for Janssen. So this kind of benchmark make it easy to try to help the partnership, because one of the first questions, I'm part of the global team. My line manager is in the US. I'm based in France. I work with the Janssen France team and also with the London Innovation Center based in London, who are looking for innovation across the EMEA region. And basically, there's a vision on the global, on the EMEA region, and on France. And the first question when I come up with the collaboration to my colleague from R&D in the US to say, we have this startup or this institute with this project, is why should we work with this institution?
That's the question.
And I think I give a bit of the answer at the end, is the fact that if there is a benchmark and if some work exists to compare the current work at the European level or at the international level, that makes it easier to make the first connection. That said, we've been able in less than a year to have already first partnership with Curie Institute. We have a second one in the make, and we are also partner with the Prairie AI Institute, which is one of the 4 Center of Excellence in Artificial Intelligence. So we have to think about that competitivity at the international level. So how we could get prepared when we get this kind of question for big group, we have a part of the answer. And I think it's not only about platform, because as part of the initiative, we are looking for talent, we're looking for cohorts, we're looking for methods, and we're also looking for platform, either computational platform and technological platform. And my answer to that is the platform alone is not enough. So it's a matter of creating an entire ecosystem around the platform to make it more attractive. Because equipment can be bought by any company or place in the world that have the money. So how can we leverage that platform to show we have the know-how, we have the training, we have the researcher, we have the ecosystem? Because it's mainly applicated approach where we're trying to use the platform to answer some specific question. So how can we connect the different actors in the ecosystem together to answer those complex questions? And I think this will be my take, is really how we can create this community to work together with the COI and other research institute so we can solve this complex problem. Because I think today we cannot solve problem by ourselves as a pharma company, and nor the private institute can get to the end of the product in their side. So it's a matter of creating this ecosystem and creating those synergies.
By the way, Jean-François Mangin, you say that this ecosystem exists here in Neurospin. You can have platforms and you get, I don't know, computer engineers, mathematicians, specialists. So can you answer and can you explain how this ecosystem still exists?
Maybe I will do an analogy. You probably know that HTML is born in the CERN because there was a very specific ecosystem. And in fact, something happened here in Neurospin, and maybe you're not aware of it. I'm sure that some of your colleagues are using the library that is called scikit-learn. It's one of the most famous libraries in machine learning. It's born here in Neurospin.
Sure.
So basically, you see that this is really a place where mathematicians and computer scientists are deeply in synergy with neuroscientists and physicists. And because of that, we are aware of needs ahead of time, and maybe we are creating new tools for computer science, which should not happen here, in fact.
So you were aware of that, yes?
So There's another initiative, which is Data AI from Paris-Saclay, who are connected with you, so I'm in discussion with them as well.
Yeah, and five of the people who have an AI chair from the national program
are based in
here,
here.
including me, for instance.
So maybe I'll take it one level further on when talking about ecosystem, because basically here we're talking about the academic ecosystem. And now, if I look at it from a higher level, so how can we include pharma in the strategy boards? How can we have the starting point of the question is a question that is faced by the pharma industry or other part of the industrial world. So that is one aspect that is important. And the other aspect, what is also very important, is really how can we look at all the aspects of collaboration. Because sometimes it's easier to have a match on the scientific side, but when we come to the contracting, the situation takes a long time. So how can we onboard the administrative people? How we can onboard the IP people? How can we onboard the data privacy people? So that's a more inclusive ecosystem that on the long, on the long it will create a very easy way to come from an idea to really win-win collaboration.
My feeling is that, of course, we are not service platforms. What we are interested in is, for instance, connecting with a company like yours, for your company to build a lab here inside our ecosystem so that you just add something more and you enjoy the interaction with the different expertise you may find here. I think this would be the right way to interact with people like us.
You already have this kind of collaboration?
We have this kind of labs, for instance, in Miersen. I think there's a lab of Servier, for instance. Yeah, we
yes,
this kind of thing.
Servier, yeah. And what about Pfizer? Because you are connected and involved in Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. Neurospin should be a very important platform for some of your research.
Yeah, our teams are in touch with Neurospin, and of course we are looking for possibilities of collaboration. But about neuroscience, as you know, Pfizer was investing a lot in the Alzheimer's disease in the past, internally. And then, this is a good example, we decided after several failures, because it's difficult to find any new treatment innovation in Alzheimer's, we are very far to discover a good treatment to treat the patient that's suffering of Alzheimer's. Neurospin could be, of course, one of the opportunities we can have to partner to develop new drugs in Alzheimer's or in neuroscience. And this is part of our new strategy, because we decided not to cut the budget, is to externalize the budget. So our investments now are almost 100% now oriented externally, investing in platforms for neuroscience. Yeah.
Okay. We have a few questions from France and Boston. Can you give some examples of health infrastructures used in industrial projects with pharma and medtech? So, who would like to answer? I don't know. Who is in charge with this question? Who should answer? Do you have an answer for that? Maybe Christophe?
I can perhaps shortly comment on that, but I already addressed this point. I think the key issue for us is to be part of an ecosystem that brings together physicians, clinical teams, technological teams, and also industrials, especially for biomarker discovery, for diagnostic purposes. And so in this context, many of our platforms are part of, I would say, big research programs in France, but also in Europe.
I think it's for you. Have you ever used your platforms for companion emerging biomarkers for clinical research?
Yeah, we do that in two ways. Either using the outstanding machines we have here, we can do small studies very early in the process, but we also manage a national and even European platform, which is a kind of large instrument where we standardize acquisition and where we provide to clinical research some endpoints that are not used usually by CRO because they are too innovative. They are still in the labs. So we just speed up the transfer of this kind of biomarkers towards clinical research with this platform. And we work on trials with companies, but also on academic trials, because with companies, the difficulty is maybe the regulatory issue. We may be secondary endpoint, but not classical endpoints.
Regulatory issues are very specific in France, even if he may change a little bit the image. Is there a problem, or when you're from the US, for example, how is France considered? Isn't it a problem sometimes to really step into investments and go forward when you see what's happening, regulation, political issues? Camilo?
Yeah, that's a key issue. So that was one of the points that I want to address, because if we want to be attractive, to be because they are in competition, what said before, that with other countries, if we wanted to drive investments and to partner with such big institutions, we have to invest a lot in the quality standards. This is very important because these standards must be recognized in the United States, but also in the contracting parts, because in France it's really difficult to set a contractor because there are a lot of constraints. It's much more easier and faster to contract in other countries than in France. So I think that
it's a great limit.
Yeah, it's a big limit. So that's the reason why I think we have to invest a lot in this simplification process for contracts, and also, of course, really to be aware what are the key quality standards that are required in the United States mostly. Yeah.
Do you have the same image, complicated France?
So I'll give the bright side of it. It's true that there's complication, but usually when there's the right people who want to push it up front, things gets better, and there's solution. And again, it's sometimes also putting the right people together. So my background is more scientific. So what I need to go through the contracting part, so I bring our legal or data privacy team directly with the privacy and legal team of the partner and let them do the magic.
And what about you, Jean-Philippe Stéphan? You're French, so you know very well about the general context, but sometimes are you attracted to foreign countries to invest and to lead your projects?
Yes, we do, definitely. We are investing abroad as well. To come back to the complexity, I think there is complexity everywhere. The nature of complexity is different. That's true that we need to simplify in France. You know, I think we are the champion of why doing something simple if you can do it complex. But I think there is some other complexity. If you're looking at setting up, for example, for a French company, setting up quite involved contract with an American institution, there is also some complexity. I think negotiating the contracts could also take a while.
So it's a matter of culture.
I think it's a matter of culture, and I completely agree with other panelists. I think if you have the right champion, this can go through definitively, despite the fact that that's true, there is some level of complexity.
You can overcome problems.
You can overcome, you know, because you have to navigate the system. So you have to know, you know, and anticipate. You have to know, in fact, what you're going to be asked for. And if you're anticipating a long time enough, you can manage it. That doesn't mean that we don't need to simplify. Don't take me wrong.
So that I wanted to add. So making things happen, what needs to be done is make them faster. So that time argument is still something to reconsider as well.
Do you work on these issues? Time to go faster, to be bigger. Do you understand the other problematics? For sure. Yeah, sure, no problem. Okay, so the other questions for you. They're ready for to work with you. Do you have opportunities for cooperation across the Atlantic?
There's, of course, a lot of variety. I mean, research is international, so we have plenty of collaboration across the Atlantic, yeah, for sure. With the NIH, for instance, one of the leading institutions in high-field MRI is in Minneapolis, and we have a close relationship with them.
So, for you, maybe a bit, I'd say, the beginning of a process. Do you already have some of these cooperations?
Yeah, we have some, but I would say the main challenge in this field perhaps is because there are omics platform, I would say, in Europe, but also in the US and in America, generally speaking. And so the main challenge is to work together to make the process more mature and to make all the data we deliver more reusable and interoperable. And that has to be performed at an international level, and the United States are key for that.
Okay, another question is it possible to gradually define partnership topics? What we're doing right now. So do you want to add some hints or information about these partnership topics?
Yeah, I think partnership is like, it's a gradual process. It's not like something where you come and it's not outsourcing or contracting. So it's a journey where you learn about the partner, you're trying to work together. You have to build trust and transparency in the transaction with the partner. And most importantly, you have to make it win-win situation. So if someone come with an interest where the other side there's no interest, probably is not gonna last forever. So the most important is really how to work on those aspects.
Mm-hmm. Luca?
Yeah, to me, it's a question of trust first, and second is also to take risks. Because you know that when you partner with some institutions, also with some key platforms, so you do not know what will be the issue. So our culture is to invest knowing that you can fail. And this is important for us. And it's the reason why, so here, now we are one of the most developed pharma industry in the world, covering almost all the therapeutic areas, because what we want is to invest when we believe that something can be successful, but we are not sure that this will be successful. So that's the reason why we have to build this culture of the failure, because taking risks, it makes also you probably compared to the competitors also having some advantages. But you have to take a risk to invest, knowing that you can also lose the money.
It happens.
And the patients are waiting for that, because, so that's the reason why. So our first, the aim of our philosophy is to bring added value for the patients where there is medical needs not covered by the current therapeutics. And you have to invest much more, so knowing that you can fail.
Do you take risks for any field, or do you focus on big issues like cancer, or are you interested in other fields which are maybe less general, less
yeah, for sure.
important?
In France, we are already investing in some platforms here. We have in some disease areas, but in the future, where we will invest the more, where we are focusing our strategies, will be mostly in rare disease, vaccines, oncology, and so why not also in neuroscience, because the medical need is very, very high.
So this is a connection, possible connection. The culture of risk, we'd say, is it something which is deeply involved in your activity, to take risks, and how do you decide, okay, let's go? What's the what's the moment when you say, okay, we can go? Maybe Jean-Philippe?
Yeah, definitively. I think risk is part of our job. We are dealing with complexity. Many things that we are doing, we don't clearly have the answer. So we have to take the risk, and you have to rationalize. You know, when do you think you're ready to take it or not? So I think you have to put everything on the table. I would say to do that, to take the risk together, I agree with the other panelists, you need to build trust and proximity. And I would add that you need also to make sure that it's a well-balanced partnership. I think each parties have to get benefit in the partnership. Meaning, like the pharma, obviously, we have specific needs that are geared toward the benefit of the patient, and I think this is also the case for the expert at the CEA. But they also have to see the benefit that what the pharma can bring them in terms of finding the right application for their technology, the closest to the patients. And I think it's when you created this environment that you're ready to take the risk. And ultimately, until you get the ultimate answer, you're in the risk zone. You can de-risk as much as you want, but there is always uncertainties.
Yes, of course. Ramsey, the same?
So I think, like the starting point is like we're doing research. So mainly we don't have a clear answer, otherwise we'll not be doing research. So we're trying to do an exploration. So you'll not take risk on choosing the wrong partner. So that's the first thing. You have to make sure that you have the right partner. However, there's a risk in the journey that you control to a certain extent, to put gates on the way to say where you have to stop. And the decision is not only scientific. So that's why you have to be very inclusive to include everyone in the buy-in.
Teams, who's involved?
To get to that project. So everyone is really excited about it. But then there's a continuous reevaluation process to say whether we have to stop or not. And that decision mainly can become complex, but it depends on the investment and a lot of factors. But eventually, there's always risk, but then there's always a benefit, and then you have to find the right balance.
The balance, benefits, risk. And so you take risk, you want a win-win cooperation. What about you? Are you really ready to accept everything from industry, or do you have your own criteria and sometimes some limits, and you say, no, that we can't do it, or we want to focus on French patients and not only if projects are just financed for abroad? Have you your own criteria?
Of course, we have. So first of all, we have a long experience working with industrial companies. So we are perfectly aware about the risk that you take, and we know that, and so we have to deal with that. And so what our main criteria, I would say, is also the technological challenge that you propose us, because we want to address some I would say unanswered needs, and so the collaboration for us is an opportunity to develop more advanced technological research and to help you to deliver something. So that's our state of mind, and the other possibility is also to work I would say with a contract and to deliver some results, but not at a high scientific level, I would say. Mm-hmm. So everything is possible, in fact.
Okay, for you, everything is possible. Jean-François?
I don't think everything is possible, at least in Neurospin. I think we need some synergies with what is proposed. Otherwise, I don't think we would. I mean, we are not a service platform here. We are really willing to push research further in terms of neuroscience or technologies, and I don't think we would just collaborate on something which is just pressing the buttons and doing this kind of thing.
Sometimes the French academic ecosystem has some, distance with industry, and people are looking at each other with a certain despise. So, what about the CA culture about that? Do you think that sometimes it's difficult to understand each other?
It's where the CA is not comparable to maybe the stereotype view you may have of academics in France, because we are much closer to industry and we have this target too. So I think it's much easier for you to interact with people in the CA than maybe in standard CNRS labs. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what about you?
Yeah, just a comment on this. So what is important, I had this discussion also with INSERM. So we know perfectly INSERM is the biggest research institute in France. So I think probably what should be good is probably to call for the pharma industry expertise, because we have some expertise that can help you. So because sometimes you work probably too much alone, and our new tools we have developed to interact with the research environment all over the world is now having a new manner to collaborate, is putting together the expertise both sides. And this, for me and for us, is the most successful way to progress. For example, we have one of these positives we have. It's named the CTI, is the Center of Therapeutic Innovation. So it's something that is important because there are some medical needs, and the idea is to move faster from the research to the patient. It is important.
That's a key point. You already talked about that.
Yeah. It's important for us. It's important for the researcher. It's important for the patients.
Okay. Other questions from people connected. Are you already interested in linking technologies and data from other platforms?
Yeah, this is really something hot in the CEA, trying to do multimodality, big data analysis and AI analysis, which means, of course, dealing with all the curation process and dealing with all the acquisition process. But we have some programs like that at the national level, especially in psychiatry these days. Yeah.
Nationally, not internationally yet.
Well, of course, nothing is really only national, because as soon as you deliver a large data set in a country, you just connect to the other countries to go at another scale. So.
Yeah, I fully agree with Jean-François, of course. But at CA, we have a unique opportunity we are data producer, so omics data, many omics data, also imaging, and we are also data processor. We are working on data science, and so that's, I would say, a unique opportunity to perform data integration, and that's we were talking about multi-omic, but I think it's far more than that, because we really aim to develop this integrative view and to process together clinical metadata, imaging data, and also multi-omics data. And so when I see on the screen the next key technology platform,
yeah, I was about to ask.
For me, that's that's the point, that how can we move to something that is more integrated, and for that we will need the data, of course, and data that are well produced, and also I would say scientists at the top in the field of data science.
So this is for you the next platform. What about you? Next platforms, what are you looking for as a performance and platforms for tomorrow, today and tomorrow?
So I may comment on this, because my PhD thesis is in data integration.
Oh.
So I think it's
so you can work with it.
Absolutely, that might be something very relevant. And again, I think today's problem, as I mentioned, are so complex. So if we come with a way that I believe there's a lot of error and trial to come to the right way, and I think it's domain specific, and it's not because you have a lot of data that you put them together that you're going to get the best results. So you have to make sure that you do the right way, the right process, the right method of integration. There's multiple one. So this might be potentially a very good subject to have a lot of brain together trying to see how to collect the right data, how to put the right metadata on the data, how to identify the right algorithm, and how to make it specific to different fields, because there's no one fit all. So, and I think it's a very broad question, because we don't know what would be the next platform. I work a lot with next generation sequencing and genomics. I started in 2009. I mean, the read were so short, the quality was so poor. When you look today, they just announced a full completed genome that with the new technology and a telomere to telomere. So what tomorrow will be, it's a platform with higher precision, more depth, and a lower cost, and a speed time to results. Because still today, even the genomics is advancing, we need 48 hours to get from the sample to the data, where you can run an algorithm in 30 minutes to get the results. So for me, I would wait for 30 minutes data generation and 30-minute processing.
Always quicker.
Yeah. I mean, higher quality, quicker, and cheaper.
Cheaper. Everything.
If I may add something, because I think it relates to previous discussions, data integration, totally agree. I think this is what we have to deal right now, because we know that the solution is within the data. And I would say the next step is probably better prediction capabilities. What we want to do is, coming back to the risk, if you have very good prediction tools, you're decreasing the risk. So data integration is the solutions for better predictions and getting faster to the patients.
Still, always, this point for you, quicker to the patient. Luca, Mono?
Yeah, about this for us, so it's important to work on the targets of new therapeutics, because so there are a lot of drugs, a lot of new molecules that are developed, but the key issue is now to identify what are the new targets where we can act. And this can be done, as you were saying, also with the artificial intelligence. So working these two aspects together and work very well identifying what are the targets, and to develop drugs that are successful to be used in the patients. This is, for us, it's also key.
So in this perspective, phase 0 and translational medicine may be helpful. And this is the upcoming session. Thank you very much for you to take part to this round table. Thank you, Christophe Junot, Jean-François Mangin, Lucas Mollo, Jean-Philippe Stéphan, and Ramzi Temani for participating. Thank you very much.